Councillor Watkins.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And as Councillor Wilson's already says, we will also add a rebound to give some money towards your various charity. And it would have been nice if you could participate in the Christmas jumper, but as it is, you didn't or you did. So I would like to approach, and this is also from the Green as well. So thank you.
Thank you so much to Councillor Wilson, Councillor Watkins, and also County Leader Finch as well. Thank you so much. This shows that you have supported me, and I'm sure the chair of the Silver Garden Heritage Centre, who wish to happy to learn that you also put it tonight to my April 2025-26. Thank you so much. Right, going into agenda item number 6, I have to tell you that tonight I'm not taking any supplementary questions. This is simply because we have got quite a few questions to go through. Also, this is the end of the year's meeting, so we want to make it nice and short if possible. Thank you so much. So, the first person I'm going to invite tonight on this public participation is Mr. David Sedgwick. Can I invite you to ask your question, please? Thank you.
Okay, dear councillors, Nuneaton Arts is the charity that, amongst other things, manages the Abbey Theatre. In January 2023, following an unsuccessful bid for levelling up funding for a new art wing in the town, the charity approached the council with a view to renew the lease on the theatre, which had expired in 2013. This will provide the charity with security of tenure, enable financial planning and give greater access to external grant funding. In March 2023, Councillor Christopher Wilson, the then leader of the council, agreed that this would be done and that he was, and I quote, taking up the issue of the lease with the relevant officers. And so the saga begins, with Nuneaton Arts consistently chasing the council to move things forward and being given a multitude of excuses and reasons for delay. This prolonged time has understandably led to irritation, frustration and at times anger. Following the local election in 2024, another meeting was held with the new council leader, Councillor Christopher Watkins, alongside councillors and cabinet members Nicky King and Tim Jenkins. Verbal assurances were again given that the new leadership was wholly in support of renewing the lease. What is particularly frustrating in the delay is that we note since March 2023, when we first reached out to the council, that the council has either agreed or progressed leases for at least 7 other of their properties, namely Buckingham Sports and Social Club, July 2023, Bedworth Civic Hall, September 2024, the Saints, March 2025, the New Indian Restaurant in Abbey Street, September 2025, Nuneaton Colliery District Sports and Social Club, October 2025, use of the Leisure Boxers paddle course in October 2025, and more recently Nuneaton Town Football Club in November 2025. So where are we on the progress of the theatre lease today? We don't know. The last update we had was with Maria Bailey in September, but she has now left the council and there has been no response from the council to 2 subsequent requests for an update. We are, in our opinion, no further forward. If anything, we have taken a step back, as, following a request from the council, we made a payment of £3,000 in June 2025 towards the cost of a lease valuation calculation. And 6 months on, this has not been carried out. This is totally unacceptable business practice. Over the last 2.5 years, the council's handling of the lease renewal can only be described at best as shambolic and inept. What commitment and reassurance can the council give to a realistic date for the lease to be agreed and completed? If this cannot be done, can we expect to be having discussions with different cabinet members following the local election in 2026 or with whatever unitary authority currently being in 2028.
Thank you for your question. Councillor Kent, do you wish to reply?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, David. Whilst the theatre continues to operate as usual, the council has been sourcing support for this very specialised area. Following the receipt of information, it is expected that we will enter into the lease negotiations as early as possible.
Councillor Wilson.
Thank you. Under the rules of the Constitution, can I please move that the question be referred to the relevant overview and scrutiny panel?
Can we have a second? Councillor Schumacher. Are we happy with this? Are we? Please show your hand if you're happy. This is unanimous. Thank you. Right, we go on to question number 2. Can I invite Nicola Fitchman to ask the question, please?
At the previous council meeting, I asked why the community facilities and associated buildings at Hawkesbury Village, which are physically complete, remain unopened and unavailable to public use. This is not just the village community buildings, orchards and allotments. This also includes other public footpaths. For example, the path above the mine shafts close to Hawkesbury Drive have been recapped and pathway base work completed over 18 months ago. This land is still fenced off, and due to this, the pathways are now overgrown, just like the allotments. At the last meeting, the only explanation given was a lack of legal capability. This is not sufficient justification for inaction on a major Section 106 obligation affecting an entire community. As this position is significantly consequential to the residents of Hawkesbury Village, can the council please provide a clear timescale of when the legal action required to bring these facilities into public use will be completed? Confirmation of whether the developer has met or breached its Section 106 obligations for the community buildings, allotments and associated infrastructure over the Hawkesbury site. Details of what action the council has taken since the last meeting to progress this matter. The community needs reassurance that this issue is not being infinitely delayed and that the council is actively addressing its responsibilities.
Thank you. Councillor Benson, you want to reply?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've got a response for you, Nicola. There are 2 Section 106 agreements in relation to the site. The first is dated 10th of May 2021 and relates to application 036870, land owned by Vistry. This governs the construction of the community infrastructure, open space, allotments and community building, and sets out the management and maintenance company, MMC, and rent service charge mechanisms. It requires the formation of a management company to manage public open space, community assets and infrastructure. The second is dated 19th of August 2022 and relates to application 037807. This pertains to phase 2, land owned by Tilia with similar MMC and maintenance provisions. There have been a number of meetings between planning officers and legal to try and move the situation forwards. In October, council advice was sought. A further meeting with council has taken place on the 20th of November 2025, and following this, a formal letter was sent to Vistry, who are the house builder on
21st of November, which set out the breaches of the Section 106 agreement and request they set out their position in relation to their breaches, the breaches identified. A response to this letter was requested within 21 days. Upon receipt of the response, the Council will then consider its position and determine the appropriate course of action. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Benson, for your reply. Now, can I invite Mr. John Blackburn to ask you a question, please?
Thank you. I'd like to know, please, how much has been spent by the Council on salary costs for planning enforcement legal officers since May 2021, when a Section 106 deed for the Hawkesbury Old Golf Course was signed by the Council? And what would be the estimated salary cost of employing a permanent legal officer for planning enforcement rather than a succession of locum temporary posts, as has been the case for several years, to improve the service to electors since the conditions of this deed were breached over 2 years ago?
Thank you. You, Councillor Benson, again.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, I'd like to refer John details and information about the Section 106 agreements as previously stated on the previous response I made to Nicola Fenton, with the information regarding the land owned by Vistry and the land owned by Tillier is exactly the same. Further, the Council does not have planning enforcement legal officer post. Therefore, the Council cannot provide salary information. Instead, the Council has a planning solicitor role within the legal team and a planning enforcement team within planning. In terms of planning enforcement, since April 2025, the team has been very understaffed and has not had any permanent members of staff. The team has been resourced using a contractor staff, and we currently have one planning enforcement officer covering the whole borough. The planning enforcement team has experienced a high turnover of staff with contractor staff, with 5 staff members having left their positions with the planning enforcement team over the last 4 years, November 2021 to April 2025. The legal team has to date been unsuccessful in recruiting to the vacant planning solicitor post. We have tried multiple options but are aware that there is an issue across the local government sector with legal team recruitment. At the time of full council, Warwick District Council and Stratford District Council work collaboratively and are currently out to advert for a shared planning and regulatory legal team leader position. Since a permanent planning solicitor left the council during 2023-2024, the legal team have had interim staff rather than permanent planning solicitor. The council has recently re-advertised the planning solicitor role and are continuing to look into other external options that represent best value for the taxpayer. Whilst having agency staff is not an ideal long-term solution, it has provided us with some capacity, using salary savings, and the staff are working hard to deliver the required service.
Thank you, Councillor Benson. The last statement from Project Public today is Councillor Keith Condon. Can I invite you to read your statement, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I need to make a statement about the surface water attenuation pond number 6 on the Callander Farm Phase 2 development by Taylor Wimpey. This site is commercially called Meadow Green and is adjacent to the existing St Nicolas Park estate and Bellway Phase 3, which they call Park Royal, off the Longshoot. Concerns were raised in the summer by a resident that the pond on the southwest corner of the development were not draining properly after the summer storm in July. This was due to the inlets and outlets being obstructed by green silt control mesh. I raised this with the County Council's flood team and the Borough Council's planners. Nothing gets done, it seems, when the two councils assume that each other are the one to do something. In October, I did get a response from the developer stating that these meshes were cleaned twice a year. Then, the evening before Storm Claudia was due to arrive, I was informed by a resident that the water in the pond in the corner was already at the rim and slowly spilling towards the house's back gardens on St Nicolas Park estate. In the dark, it was clear that the level of the silt mesh was higher than the side of the attenuation pond. I pushed the mesh down slightly so that the pond would flow in towards the outflow. During Storm Claudia, I monitored pond number 6 to ensure that it didn't overflow from the side again. After the event, we have now looked again at the planning documents, and it is clear that the west side of pond number 6 should have been raised to prevent the overflowing from the side towards the gardens of the existing housing. The ditch on the old boundary between the Meadow Green and the Bellway Phase 3 is full of water and is barely draining. I have of course notified the County Council and they're in talks with the borough, but I have little hope that either council are going to get this sorted this winter. That is why I'm making a statement rather than asking a question.
Thank you so much, Councillor Gundigan. This is no mandatory. Councillor Benson, you want to reply or are you happy?
Just note the comments, thank you.
Thank you. That was the end of the public participation. Moving on to agenda item number 7. We have got 4 questions submitted by our members. So first one, I would like to invite Councillor Gundigan. Can you ask your question, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last week I saw that North Warwickshire Borough Council was putting signs up at sites around their borough declaring that it was a fly tip enforcement area and that enforcement cameras were in operation. The more things that our neighbours do to deter fly tipping in their area, the more likely that people will come across the border into Nuneaton and Bedworth for fly tip if we don't also do something similar. Will the portfolio holder ensure that something like this does happen, i.e. signs in our borough?
Thank you for your question. Is it Councillor Benson? Please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Cuddicle. Here's a response received. We have recently installed permanent fly tipping warning notices along the laybys of the A444 as well as other known hotspots within the borough. They're intended to directly target those who may be considering fly tipping their waste. Without wanting to compromise the ongoing work and efforts to tackle fly tipping, confirm that we regularly target areas with CCTV systems to try and gather evidence against those who think it's acceptable to blight our borough through their selfish and illegal actions. However, I can confirm that we have several prosecutions currently going through the courts regarding recent high-profile incidents. I would therefore like to remind those who think that they can use our borough as a dustbin that it is illegal to fly tip, and if we catch you, we will take formal action against you. In offering reassurance on the concerns raised on offenders coming from outside the borough, the 6 local authorities have recently agreed to work together to tackle fly tipping across the county. It is hoped that by sharing best practices and information, a more collaborative approach will lead to a reduce in fly tipping across the entire county. Thank you.
Thank you for your reply. Question number 2, can I invite Councillor Wilson to answer the question, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question is to the Chair of the Housing and Communities Opening and Scrutiny Panel. At the Extraordinary Council in September 2025, Council resolved to call a special OSP and invite stakeholders to give evidence about what happened and possible lessons learned regarding events in the summer and the asylum immigration system. Could the Chair of the OSP update Council on progress towards fulfilling the resolution before Council? Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Phillips is not here, so can I invite Councillor Watkins to reply to this question, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Wilson, for the question. The panel of the Housing and Communities OSP agreed to have this item as part of the already scheduled meeting of the 22nd January 26, due to the agenda being light on items. Invites to the meeting have been sent to our Serco, Warwickshire Police, Warwickshire County Council Communities Team and NBBC Communities Team. A representative from the Home Office is also being located without the MP. Whilst we await response, the Council continues to be proactively engaged with all stakeholders, both in terms of lessons learned and in relation to sharing good practice with local authorities and other stakeholders. We are working closely with CLG communities unit to establish a network of learning for the regions impacted. In addition, we actively participate in the Warwickshire Migration Partnership via regular meetings and subgroups to coordinate migration services, share best practices and strengthen partnerships. We are also a member of the West Midlands Strategic Migration Partnership to deliver a coordinated and collaborative approach to all matters related to migration. You can have that sent to you if you would.
Appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Councillor Waters. By the way, I like your Christmas jumper. Is that a true one?
Very Christmas.
Thank you. Question number 3. Can I invite Councillor Rose to ask the question, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So my question is this: derelict buildings, overgrown sites, promised community centres sit empty across Nuneaton and Bedworth. Developers are dodging legal duties, as we hear, including those for local facilities, and frequently secured investment through means of like Section 106 is not even spent, while enforcement backups and legal team struggles persist. So what is a clear strategy beyond individual actions between individual posts? What is that clear strategy beyond locums and surveys to clear these backlogs, to force developers and owners to deliver spend obligations and restore trust in Council's ability to look after our borough? What concrete steps will be taken to fix the capacity failures for good? And can we please have a solution-focused answer? Thank you.
Thank you. Is it Councillor Vincent again?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It is important to note that not all sites the Council can do anything about, even with engagement that the Council may pursue, unless other powers are considered and may not be purely a Council matter, and specifically, legal and planning teams. There are other parts, such as the anti-property activity in the private sector housing, and the recent Cabinet report considered 3rd of December 2025 ref probate concession services contract. In terms of planning enforcement, again, on some of my previous answers today, since April 2025, the team has been very understaffed and has not had any permanent members of staff. The team has been resourced using contractor staff, and we currently have one planning enforcement officer covering the whole borough. A restructure of the planning enforcement team has recently been agreed, which would see the creation of a principal planning enforcement post together with a planning enforcement technician post. This will ensure that the planning enforcement team is well resourced in order to cope with the increasing number of alleged breaches as well as the complexity of planning enforcement cases in the borough. A full-time Section 106 agreement monitoring officer post has also been approved. The role will maintain the register of Section 106 agreements and proactively monitor the agreements to ensure that the provisions within them are recorded and enacted efficiently. The role will also operate in a more proactive manner in respect of the monitoring of legal agreements and sites. The legal team has to date been unsuccessful in recruitment to the vacant planning solicitor's post. We have tried multiple options, but are aware that there is an issue across the local government sector with legal team recruitment. We have recently re-advertised the planning solicitor's role and are continuing to look into other external options. Whilst having agency staff is not an ideal long-term solution, it has provided us with some capacity and staff are working hard to deliver the required service. Hope that happens.
Thank you, Councillor, for your reply. The fourth and last question from the members tonight. Can I invite Councillor Wright to ask your question, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With energy costs set to rise in the new year, Could the responsible covenant member please clarify what measures are being taken to improve energy efficiency and reduce wastage throughout the borough?
Thank you. Councillor Watkins, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Wright, for your question. In terms of the homes of our residents, the Council is actively tackling fuel poverty on a number of fronts. Those residents within council housing stock, we are an active participant in the local authority delivery scheme, improving the thermal efficiency of our own dwellings, along with the installation of energy efficient boilers, double glazing and roof insulation. For homeowners, we have successfully bid for 1.4 million of funding from the Midlands Net Zero Hub to deliver grants for energy efficiency measures into their homes. The ongoing decarbonisation delivery at the Pingles Ridge site will see only electric being used from early April 2026, with the installation of PV panels supporting the overall electric costs. The new modern heating and ventilation system, along with the internal refurbishment, will help drive the efficiency of the building going forward. Likewise, the delivery of the new Bedworth physical activity hub has incorporated energy efficiency equipment as part of the building design, including PV panels that will help support efficiency measures in its ongoing operation.
Thank you, Councillor Watkins. Moving on to item number 8, the special urgency. This is for noting only. Agenda number 9, Cabinet report. Can I invite Councillor Watkins to present the report, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to present the report as is and questions.
Thank you. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a few questions. Can I take them individually if I may, so it's easier for us all to follow?
Go individually, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My first question is on page 46 under 2B, the Public Space Protection Order, so this is to Councillor Benson. Could he, I'm fully supportive of it because the issues I've encountered in my ward and seen around the borough, indeed I was a great proponent of it. Is he able to confirm now that the PSPO is in fact in place and that we now have the resource necessary to be able to enforce any breaches of the PSPO?
Thank you. Councillor Benson, you want to answer?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. Can I get back to you with that answer if that's okay, please? Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wilson again.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My next question is on page 48 under 4A, which is to Councillor Hughes. When it came to full count to the Cabinet, forgive me, I can't remember if you were there, I think you might have been the leader in this, I can't remember. But I did raise about how if this does go ahead, that the Council needs to be having an exit strategy in case whatever happens to the football club, because we can't guarantee it will still be there in 30 years, we would still have the land, but potentially buildings on there, which would necessitate a going concern, and that could pose additional impacts on this council or our successor. Could the portfolio holder give a reassurance that officers are looking into not just setting up the arrangements as going to the Cabinet, but looking at what happens should the lease fail and we end up having any buildings which are on the land?
Councillor Hughes, you want to reply?
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Yeah, the officers are looking into all possibilities and due diligence into the Bellevue site. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Croft.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. At the last council, I asked the leader of the council or the finance cabinet member about the £750 million overspend in the housing revenue account capital outturn for last year. And my question relates to the capital monitoring for HR. And you told me last time that you'd get back to me on exactly what that was. It also says in the last report that they adjust the budget to reflect the need for spend, but I can't see that in the capital monitoring report this evening. It might be in a different line, but it'd be useful to know how that budget adjustment has been made.
Please reply this to this question. Councillor Hay, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think you can see in the capital monitoring outcome report that further on in this agenda, things have very much evened up and what have you, and so on. I haven't got all the detail on it, but I think there's sufficient information in that report later on in the council to answer most of your questions, quite honestly. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You're done. Okay, go on.
Yeah, thank you. That was a bit of a double-headed sort of question, wasn't it? So I did promise to get back to you, and I haven't, but I'll definitely will do after this meeting. And it is quite impressive. Thank you.
Thank you. For next question, can I invite Councillor Wilson again, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm sure I only have 2 questions left on my list. So my next question is on item 4D, the Bedworth Regeneration and Investment Plan, so to Councillor King. My main question really is she yet in a position to be able to tell us what the projects have been identified to take forward as part of the investment plan? Because the report which went to Cabinet had profiled expenditure, which must mean that we have some idea of what money we'll be spending in which years. I think residents should, and full council should know what projects we're looking at, as we did with the Nuneaton projects some years ago. Thank you.
Councillor King.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At the present moment, it's under negotiations. It was put through to Parliament in November. So at the moment, I think the next meeting, then the actual, what people have put forward, we can then relate back to the public. And I quite agree with you, the people of Bedworth do need to know what the projects are.
Thank you. Is it the last question again? Councillor Wilson, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for your indulgence. My final question is on page 47 under item 3B to Councillor Hughes about the culture update, and I do fully agree that we need to sell the best of our borough because we have a lot to offer, but could I make a plea to the portfolio holder to go wider than just George Eliot, as fantastic as she was and is? There is far much more to Nuneaton and Bedworth than just George Eliot. We have Larry Grayson, who many people of a certain age will remember, and also our very own Freeman of the Borough, Gareth Edwards, who is a Hollywood film director and is very inspiring to young residents across this borough, and I think we should be selling the benefits of our homegrown talent. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Councillor Hughes, you want to reply?
I agree with Councillor Wilson. There is a lot more that we can do regarding the cultural heritage of this town. Thank you.
Thank you, certainly true. Can I now invite Councillor Clark to ask you a question, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I wish you Merry Christmas, first of all, and congratulations on your job, and Merry Christmas to everyone across the borough. And I will say Merry Christmas. Mr. Mayor, my question really is to the Councillor King in relation to business and regeneration in Nuneaton. The Cabinet was provided with an update in relation to progress in regeneration projects, but it's identified as crucial point in relation to the projects scheduled for completion in March 2026. This being around the leases in Abbey Street. Could the Cabinet member give us an update on that progress, please? Another question if I may, Mr. Mayor.
Sure, thank you. Councillor King.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The leases in Abbey Street have been done. One is actually open. There's a new business. The leases and regeneration. At the minute, we're still under early stages of negotiations. We have got a high interest, and that is all going through, progressing really nicely. At the end of February, BAM will be out of regeneration, and all the leases and all the new businesses should be moving in ready. It's all on schedule at the moment.
Thank you. Last question from Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I appreciate that, and it's pleasing to hear that these projects are progressing. My concern actually was more directed in relation to the college regeneration part of Abbey Street. And I'm a little bit concerned in so far as we've already given them a significant amount of monies to get the project up and running and fitted out. Can the portfolio holder tell us that if there's going to be any more monies required, or whether we have now given the monies that we've got in relation to that project in order to ensure its delivery?
Thank you. Is it Councillor King again?
Yes. Thank you. The negotiations are still going on with the college, but at the moment it's all going very smoothly and to plan.
Thank you. Now, can I invite Councillor Roach?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Very quick one. That's on point 4D regarding Bedworth Regeneration and Investment Plan. I've been talking to a number of social organisations around, especially around my patch. Can I have, please, Cabinet's reassurance that whatever activities will be coming out of the Regeneration and Investment Plan will also reach outside of immediate Bedworth Town Centre, and not just in terms of kind of investment projects themselves, but community and community centres are engaged outside of the immediate town centre. Because I'm hearing across that people are not aware. I know that some suggestions were made, and at least I think 2 weeks ago, I don't think there was any clarity about what's happening outside of the town centre itself. Thank you.
Is it Councillor King again?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Thank you, Rob. At the present moment, we're still having lots of meetings and negotiations on this, but we have done the new boundaries, so it will include some of the outside town centre.
Thank you. Now, can I invite Councillor Conducker, please?
Thank you. I've got a few bits, so we can do them one at a time. On 2A, it says a review of the HRA business plan is due to begin. And that was in September, so we're now 10th of September, so we're now 3 months on. So has it started, and do we have a timescale for when that's sort of going to be completed and go through? That's my first question. It'll take one at a time.
Okay, thank you. Is it Councillor Watkins, please?
Yeah, thank you for your question, Councillor Concord. Yeah, the review is still ongoing, and we're having a look at all services for the and just what. So I think it's good on us.
Thank you. Question number 2.
Councillor Hughes, on 3A, I know that there's overall completions expected October 2026. The actual building of the physical activity hub, I believe, is due at the end of March 2026. Is that actually when it will be open to the public, or is there going to be a period when the building's finished but it's not actually open and operating?
Thank you. Councillor Hughes.
Thank you, Councillor Condarca. Yes, the building will be open to the public. It's scheduled to open to the public March 2026. There's going to be a handover where the old activity, the old leisure centre will close while the new one is opened, but it will be a really short window. But it is, yes, due March 2026 for the initial opening fully to the public. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hughes. Is it third and last? Make it third and last.
Well, the other bit's actually more a statement, so I'll tack that on. 3C, it says the outcome of the consultation on the budget will be issued back no later than the 18th of February 2026. That doesn't really give any time, because the budget meeting is actually on the 18th of February. So if we don't get any feedback a lot before then, there's no chance of anyone else doing any amendments or knowing what's going on there. And my other little statement I'll tack on is on 3D. So the completion of Abbey Street and the redevelopment of Vicarage Street will provide the opportunity to thoroughly assess what is right in the long term for the bridge to living site and things. And please do wait till the other ones are actually, you know, really completed and things, so we know better what would be the best option there.
Thank you. Anybody wishes to reply? Thank you. In that case, then, another question is from Councillor Watts, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Question here for Councillor King, once again. In reference to the Bedworth regeneration. I attended the Believing Bedworth Day, it was very impressive. And what was amazed to me, what I saw, was the fountain in front of the almshouse was actually working. But I believe it's been subsequently turned off. Can you please tell me what is actually happening with that and why was it turned on specifically for that day? Was it just to impress? Or is the reality, is it going to be funded and put back into action?
Thank you. Councillor King.
Thank you. Thank you. Keep giving me the questions tonight. Happy Christmas. Yes, no, there is a lot of problems with the fountain. There's a lot of maintenance and work which is very costly that needs to be done. So it was managed to get on the desk for that day in specifically, but at the present moment we haven't got the funding to keep it going. And I do believe it is owned by St Nicolas Park, is it? Yes, Nicolas. So there's a bit of a debate on what we do with the land.
Thank you. Thank you. Second question from Councillor Watts.
Subsequent to the response. As far as I'm aware, I may be wrong, and perhaps Council wants me to clarify, with regards to the ownership of the actual, or the workings I should say, of the fountain, I believe that is within the Council's remit, as far as I'm aware. As opposed to, it is within the grounds of the, obviously the almshouses, and which is obviously from the Nicholas Chamberlain Trust, and I believe.
Councillor Watts, finish your question and then someone will reply.
Basically, on that basis, will the council then be funding the repairs and such like?
Thank you. Councillor Watkins, please.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm not jumping in, it's just that I have had something to do with this. The council are in the list for the maintenance, but not for renewal or replacement. Things are being discussed with Bedworth, Bellway Phase board about if they want to replace the fountain, where the money will come from and that. But the finance cannot go on public or Nuneaton and Bedworth to replace the fountain. So there is a lease, but it's for the maintenance. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further questions? If not, there is no vote required for this item. Thank you. Item number 10, notice of motion. Could I invite Councillor Wilson to move the motion as set out in the agenda, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do move it as printed. First and foremost, the issue of identity cards is a fundamental shift in the relationship between citizen and state. I don't think anyone can deny that, and I don't think actually there's been any requirement for ID cards in the past 200 odd years, unless it has actually been a time of war. But we are not in a time of war, Mr. Mayor. And it has always been, as I said at the Extraordinary September Council, that the presumption in English law has until fairly recently been that a person is free to do whatever they want so long as it is not prescribed by law. And it is, I fear, a worrying trend, Mr. Mayor, that we are moving away from that into compulsion to prove you are who you say you are at every single step. Now, residents and councillors may be wondering, what does this have to do with Nuneaton and Bedworth? It's a legitimate question. But let me ask you something else. What will it not have to do with each and every single resident of Nuneaton and Bedworth? Every single, and we say this about politics all the time in general. People say, well, what does politics do for me? Think about every decision we make in our lives. It is governed by something in relation to politics, whether we like it or not. Whether we drive on the left-hand side or the right-hand side, whether I can stop at this junction or whether I can keep going. But now, to say I am who I say I am, that is a gross overstep of the role of the state. Now, what does this potentially mean for us as a borough council? And whoever may succeed us, one or two, I don't know, but it will affect whatever succeeds us. Are we going to be saying that every time someone accesses a council service, they're going to have this card to prove they are who they say they are? Are we going to say that before you can submit a planning application, you have to present your card? If they present as homeless, are they going to have to present their card? If we want them to sign up to the green bin service, Mr. Mayor, are we going to say, before we take you 45 quid, we want to see your card? Before they submit a complaint about a council service, are they going to want to see their card? Passports to leisure, do we want a card before we see that? Applying for a library card, or applying for a bus pass? These are, if you think about it, these are little things we do, but are actually going to be fundamentally changed potentially by this new identity card system. And where I actually have some agreement with the leader of the council, as he knows, is over local government reform. And local government reform is going to cost a bomb. It's going to cost councils a bomb. Because whatever happens, there will be redundancy payments for officers because it will be streamlined, allegedly, or people always say there's savings, and it's not always the case. But we are now seeing that cost being shoved down to the local taxpayer. There will need to be some kind of interface with this national database. We already know, and Councillor Hay and I have had these discussions, that our IT systems are woefully inadequate in a lot of places because things happen, things change, IT evolves. We're going to have yet another requirement to interface with the database and more expenditure to work with this identity card system. And to cap it all off, in the budget, last week, I think it was last week, time moves quickly in politics, the Chancellor of the Exchequer announced that to pay for all this, just the first bit, will cost £1.4 billion. At a time when she is increasing the taxes on each and every single one of us in this chamber. Working people will be paying for that. And we know food waste is coming in, for example. That is not going to be fully funded. We will have to stump up some of that cash. What could that £1.4 billion have actually done to help our council services? What could that £1.4 billion have done across our borough? Let's just have a look at some things that it could do. Looking at reducing business rates. A few months ago, an Act of Parliament went through scrapping the business rate relief. We know that many people complain about the cost of opening a business in this borough. It isn't actually usually the rents that harm people. It is the cost of business rates, which we aren't always the owner of, by the way. I know the leader of the council probably expressed the same frustration as I do. Well, the council must reduce business rates on this. Actually, we don't own that building. But business rates do kill people. We could have abolished business rates on markets. We know that when we put our markets up in Nuneaton and Bedworth, we actually pay for the square footage of those market stalls as a business rate. We could have funded the infrastructure or part of the infrastructure needed across the country for all this 1.5 million extra homes which are being forced on us. And we all cry out as local councillors that we don't want or have issues with local developments if we haven't got the schools, the hospitals, the GP surgeries, even a play area, even a footpath in place. What could that £1.4 billion actually provide? Homelessness support. We know that for every person that we put up in homelessness, that we have to pay out £100 a night, but we only get £100 per week for recovery. I could go on, and I will address that in my winding up speech if I get there, Mr. Mayor, but I fully support this motion.
Thank you so much, Councillor. Is there a seconder? Councillor Martin, seconded.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I second it and reserve my right to speak.
Thank you. I now invite all the members to speak on this proposed motion. Can I just remind everybody to keep your comments relevant, respectful, and also within the standing order. Thank you so much. Is it Councillor Watkins? Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I suppose thank you for the motion. But once again, you're right, I will actually agree with you. You bring in something here to Nuneaton and Bedworth local authority that's a national issue. It's nothing to do with us voting or we're talking about in this chamber, but it did give you plenty of time to go on and talk about it. I've looked closely at your motion and what it says and what it doesn't say. So what it says is, write to the three MPs to express the Council's opposition to the policy of mandatory ID cards and ask them to vote against these proposals in Parliament on behalf of the residents of Nuneaton and Bedworth. So you spoke to all the residents in Nuneaton and Bedworth. Well done. Fundamental change in the relationship between citizen and state, it will result for the residents of Nuneaton and Bedworth. Will it? Your opinion. This council does not believe that the introduction of ID card system will resolve the challenges of our country faces. Again, your opinion. Will add additional burdens to law-abiding citizens. Again, your opinion. Fail to address the issues caused by those who fail to abide by the laws of the land. Again, your opinion. What it does not say, we can't tell the MPs how to vote. They'll vote with the whip or however they feel they want to vote. So we can ask them to do things, but we have got a lot of other things that we would like to ask them to do. Where is the evidence that the people of Nuneaton and Bedworth want our MPs to vote against this? Again, you've supplied us with nothing, you've just put your opinion forward. What additional burdens to law-abiding citizens? Nothing named. Why wouldn't this help tackle the challenges our country faces? You've given nothing again. What evidence is there that this would fail to address the issues caused by those who fail to abide by the law? Again, no evidence going. Mr. Mayor, I'll be voting against this. I've got nothing to hide if I haven't need an ID card. That's fine. I've got my driving licence, I've got my passport, and I've got a mobile phone which tracks everywhere also. Just waiting for the missus to find my phone on and then she'll know exactly where I am. So everybody knows where everybody is, Mr. Mayor, so I've got no problem at all with an ID card. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I've got quite a few raised hands. First one is Callander Farm, Councillor Hughes. Just speak, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think asking this council to oppose something that doesn't exist yet is not really good governance, it's just political theatre. Our responsibility here is to deal with reality, not what's hypothetical. Moreover, it's rather inconsistent for the Conservatives opposite to present themselves in defenders against ID cards when their own party introduced mandatory voter ID nationally. I'd just like to inform everybody here in the council, Mr Rees-Mogg later admitted in the conference that it was used to shape the electorate. You might want to reflect on this. It might be better to await an actual draft legislation before taking a formal stance. I will be voting against this motion.
Next online is Councillor Roach.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Right, where do I start? As Councillor Hughes already mentioned just a little while ago, the roads were swapped. So I do wonder, how does it happen always when you're in opposition you are liberal, and when you're in position you're actually becoming conservative? So my question is really about mandatory fees, and on some part I agree, this is a national issue, but in terms of introducing of mandatory ID cards, what really concerns me, I personally don't mind having digital or ID card. I have a couple, but the mandatory aspect is really important. But what it really means, I don't think we have fully reflected. What does it mean for the council services? What will it mean already with our systems, which we are just barely got up to foot and actually introducing it, and replacing legacy systems? What kind of staff training will it involve? What kind of liabilities will it involve in terms of responsibilities of the council and additional costs, which already we know quite aware. We are all quite aware how government has reduced the funding as much as possible, and we are struggling to maintain lots of crucial services. So what I'm going to propose here is an amendment to the motion. I would like to introduce between the first and second paragraph an additional text here which makes it more relevant and subject to what this council should be about. And I'll read it out. Basically it comes after the first paragraph. Furthermore, Council is deeply concerned that local authorities could be expected to bear the cost of administrative burden of implementing identity verification processes, particularly at a time when the Nuneaton and Bedworth Borough Council is already modernising legacy IT systems to better serve residents. Council therefore calls on the government to guarantee that any future legislation on identity verification is truly focused on solving issues, not creating new ones, and fully respects citizens' rights, provides clarity on funding and responsibilities for organisations involved, including councils, and prevents the expansion of centralised data systems without proper democratic scrutiny, safety and privacy. And reflecting, this is about anticipation of legislation. I believe one of us has a copy of my amendments. Thank you.
I said I'm happy to accept that as a friendly amendment, Mr. Mayor.
Is that seconded?
I'll second that as a friendly amendment.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody wish to talk or speak? Only on this amended motion. Evening all. I am going to adjourn this meeting for 10 minutes. What's the time now? Can I ask everyone to be back here for 1:15? Thank you.
All stand, please.